for House Bill 5001.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor substitute for House Bill 5001 be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor substitute is waived. Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, as was indicated in the initial conversation that we had on the committee substitute that made it to the floor on House Bill 5001, there is very little difference in House Bill 5001 to what actually we had worked on back in January and February. So I would move its adoption. I'd like to speak to that a little further.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, House Bill 5001 basically, as you're all aware, with the caboose bill, contains a number of adjustments that we spent time working on during the session. The key difference, and I think this will be, the essence of the debate that we will have here today, and hopefully it won't be a prolonged debate because we know the issues at hand, and I for one, am not going to spend a lot of time enumerating details unless specifically asked. But the basic essence of it is there are two items, item 306, number 2S, and I think that would be the main item that we want to focus on, which does basically begin the process of applying for the amendment to the state plan so that we can expand Medicaid. And with that, Mr. President, I would move the adoption again of the floor substitute for House Bill 5001.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on the motion? Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, if the gentleman from Augusta would yield for a couple of questions.
Will the senator yield?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd be pleased to yield.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, my question to the gentleman would be, in the floor substitute that he is offering, are there any provisions contained in that which were not in the original House or the original Senate bill?
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I was Mr. President, it is my understanding, I don't recall any additional amendments that were made that were not discussed previously in House Bill 5001 that would be included in this particular floor amendment.
Thank you, Senator. Further question?
Mr. President, I would follow up with a question on that. In the original House or Senate bill, where the millions of dollars in new taxes that are reflected in the floor substitute on 5001.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would respond to the gentleman from James City County by saying that the provider assessments, if that's what he's referring to, would be included in what I would propose to offer at a later time in House Bill 5002.
Senator.
Mr. President, another question, please, sir.
Question? Will Senator yield for a further question?
Be pleased to yield.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, upon looking at the floor substitute on 5001, which we got about 4 o'clock yesterday, there are 233 pages. Some of us who did not take the speed reading course last night may not have waded through that. So my question is, are there any new tax provisions in 5001 substitute that you're offering?
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I would respond to the gentleman by saying no. There will be, you will see coming up in the floor substitute for House Bill 5002, the floor substitute, if we get to that point, there are some provisions for increases in a couple of instances, and I'll be glad to speak to those at the appropriate time. But in House Bill 5001, there are no revenue enhancements. In fact, if we look at the tracking sheets between the committee substitute and the floor substitute, or rather the committee amendments that came to the floor and the floor substitute, which I'm offering, those revenue amounts are pretty pretty equal, which would indicate that we have not placed any additional revenue on the track in House Bill 5001.
I thank the gentleman. My last question is, are there any policy decisions that are incorporated in 5001, the floor substitute of 5001, that were not considered either in the original House budget bill, the original Senate bill, or in committee?
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, again, to the best of my knowledge, I would say to the gentleman that no, I am not aware of any that are included in House Bill 5001. And for further clarification, I would share that there's an item 442, number 2S, which basically embraces the phase-in of the DMV real ID costs, which was adequately discussed and was a recommendation of our Finance Committee back during the regular session. Yes, that would be my response.
Thank you, Senator.
I thank the gentleman. Speaking to the motion, sir.
The Senator has the floor.
I would respectfully ask the body to vote no on this motion.
Thanks, Senator. Any other senators wish to be heard on the motion?
Mr. President.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Just making sure everyone's in their seat as we do this vote, I would ask that all the members that want to advance an agenda which would include an opportunity for the enhanced federal match should vote for this floor substitute.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the floor substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. The ayes have it. The floor substitute is adopted. Seeing at least 8 hands, we'll have a recorded vote. Aye. Question is, shall the floor substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 18.
Ayes 22, noes 18. The floor substitute is adopted.
And we have a floor amendment